So, if someone is struggling with self doubt, how should they decide if it's the right fit or not? If someone is working so hard but is not achieving the results they want, and if a person is really going through burnout, how can that person really explain that on their workplace to their boss? What is the best way to explain this? Welcome to the Mastermind Institute, where we celebrate mastery. So, if someone is struggling with self doubt, with uh, that imposter syndrome that people are talking so much recently, is this the right fit? How should they decide if it's the right fit or not?
The way I want to answer that question, Sandra, is one of the most helpful things about getting into a group is it gives you a crystal clear example that you are not alone. You're not alone. This issue of imposter syndrome, this issue of the absence of confidence, it's so universal. It's so universal. And you find it at the highest levels of performance when people choose to be honest. There are people who mask it so well. They mask it so well. But let's also be honest as well. There is, I don't know if I want to say a cure for imposter syndrome, but there is a fantastic way to manage imposter syndrome, and that is preparation. That is that is one of the most effective ways of dropping the anxiety, of plummeting the anxiety, of plummeting the feeling of imposter syndrome. Preparation. Yeah, I could see how a person might be a little anxious about, let's say, for example, um, doing a consultation. But when I've done this 20,000 times, when I've interviewed that number of people, it's like you're gonna have a hard time getting me nervous at that point. I'm sorry. You've been here, you've done this, and this is part of the goal of residency training. This is part of the goal. The goal is you get exposed to it over and over and over. You're exposed to it when you're fresh. You're exposed to it when you're tired. You're exposed to it when you're in a good mood. You're exposed to it when you're in a bad mood. Over and over. You're exposed when you have a lot of resources. You're exposed when you don't have a lot of resources. One of the things that does is it erodes imposter syndrome. It erodes anxiety. You step into an office with a gray haired doctor like myself, and he'll be a lot of things. One thing he or she will not be is anxious. And if it's anxious, it's not because of you, it's because something else is going on. Because the design of our practice is it becomes rote. Excellence becomes rote. Now, obviously, hopefully your doctor's excellent because you can make rote bad practices also. But a commitment to be excellent and doing it over and over and over again, it can be a fantastic way for you to erode and attack imposter syndrome. So one of the things you can take a look at in dealing with imposter syndrome is what is the preparation that would replace the anxiety with genuine confidence, not false confidence, not arrogance confidence, not the kind of mindset that sets you up to fail. No, you have an abiding assurance. I got this. I'll use the illustration of Kobe Bryant. He was asked in interviews, um, hey, in those game winning situations, are you anxious? And he's like, why would I be anxious? I've done it 1,000 times in practice, 1,000 times. The person who coached him, the person who coached Michael Jordan, his name, Mr. Tim Grover is how he likes to be referred. Mr. Tim Grover, he helps these athletes understand pressure is a privilege. You That is a privilege the universe, the circumstances have bestowed upon you, and you should treat it accordingly. You have been placed in that situation because you've earned it. And so these are some of the mindsets. Now, part of courage is you're going to have anxiety. You're going to have anxiety. That's going to be part of the issue. Um, but at times, the goal is to be able to perform. Now, even though you might have a little anxiety, real courage is about performing despite that. Because I talked about preparation, right? You can prepare till the cows come home. The reality is going to introduce something you're not prepared for, or like you didn't prepare for. Kobe Bryant in his 81-point game, in the game where he's scoring 81 points, they asked him about that. Hey, what was that like? What were you experiencing? Kobe explains, I was actually in a tremendous amount of pain. I was having a knee problem. And so he still had to perform. Now, you don't know that with that phenomenal performance, but that was the situation. And so, no matter how prepared you are, there will be some elements that will challenge you. And so, of course, some anxiety is going to be legitimate. And the genius, the courage is when you're able to deliver the performance despite that.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. There's so much things we need to talk about. For instance, if someone is working so hard but is not achieving the results they want, and they want to achieve higher results, they are already successful, but they want to achieve different levels of success in life. It's important to work on their belief system, right? Tell us more about that. And how can your course, your training help with that?
Well, this I'm pulling from the book Think and Grow Rich, where the gentleman is 3 feet from gold, and he ends up, giving up, and then, selling his equipment to the junk man, and the junk man having the wisdom to get some consultation and saying, "Hey, what was going on?" And then the engineer explaining, "Hey, this is how this fault line behaves, and this is actually where they would find the gold if they'd continued." So perseverance is important, but getting that outside counsel can really be important, because blind perseverance can make you vulnerable to the sunken cost fallacy, where you're like, well, I've invested this much, let me just keep going. And that's not wise. That's not necessarily wise. So sometimes getting that outside support, whether it's me or whoever it is, to see, okay, let me get some objective assessment of this situation. And it can be a perspective that I can then just factor in, but the goal is to make sure that I can be confident in my ongoing perseverance, that I am not just moving blindly. But this is why it makes sense to continue. So we are now talking about high level performing, where you are outside the bounds of just typical rules, and you needs a measure of intuition, because you don't know how things are actually going to unfold. So there's got to be some intuition, there's got to be some clarity, and you are availing yourself of all information available so that you can continue to make the best decision going forward. You read those biographies, you read those stories, there's no real handwriting on the wall that this is absolutely the right thing. You recall, Steve Jobs and eliminating all those products, from Apple, and then shrinking it down to, hey, these are the products that we are going to champion. And that then becomes the model for people saying, hey, that was the right thing, that was genius. That's because it worked. It could have just as easily not worked. And then that would have been the model for, you never want to do this. You want as many products as possible, you know? So we have a strong bias towards, well, the way that unfolded, it appears like it works. And so now we embrace that. Um, and so there just needs to be some care to recognize that at the level that we're talking about people performing, the rules kind of go out the door. And you have to be so in touch with intuition, with clarity, as much clarity as possible, with good, solid information, and then that courage to step forward. And sometimes the courage to step back. So this is not cookie cutter. It's really challenging. And it's something we need to be aware of. We do have to realize that every great thing that was achieved at some point collided with the confrontation of the feeling, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is going to work. At some point, you collide with that.
Absolutely. And it often occurs that sometimes people think about burnout or associate burnout solely with workplace and workplace pressure. But life's other challenges, other demands like family, like relationships, like personal responsibilities can also take their toll. And recognizing this diversity, these sources can help manage stress more effectively. So, is burnout only related to work, or can it happen due to personal life stress or family matters? Can you expand on
So,
that, please?
so a burnout purist would want to make it sound as if this only applies to the workplace. Burnout purists would say that. Um, I don't quite follow those rules. And it's my belief that the home setting can stress you out. There are some people who the work setting actually is the place of peace, and it's the home setting that things are just chaotic. So they actually like going to work and staying at work because that's where they have peace. So burnout can definitely, in my estimation, happen in a home setting as well.
But
Is the
home
long and
should
short
be
of
a
it.
place of peace, right?
Absolutely, it should be, because this is where you actually kind of heal from that cycle. You know that you've gone out, you've spent yourself. So it makes sense that you would go home, you would encounter the loved ones that inspire you to put in that effort, get some rest, get some of the food that you love, and just eating it even kind of restores and revitalizes you. And then you go out and you deal with what you have to deal with. And for too many people, that is just not the reality. And so you can see how important it is to make that investment to, hey, how can I communicate more effectively so that I can get my home to where it is that haven, that haven of restoration. What are the choices that I need to make in order to fortify that home? And and these are important aspirations that we can make strides to make a reality.
If a person is really going through burnout, how can that person really explain that on their workplace to their boss? What is the best way to explain this?
You know, it's interesting because especially if the workplace is sizable enough, you wouldn't have that conversation with your boss. You would have it with your human resource department. The way things are set up in America, your mental well-being, you are entitled to a measure of privacy as it relates to that. So that if you need support, there's often human resource people, or like your employee assistance program. These are places that more can mitigate some of these things, but you got to see what's right in your workplace. Um, but yeah, those are some of the those are like you don't necessarily have to per se go to the boss. I'm burnt out and I'm overwhelmed. But I think what you're also getting at though is what are ways that you can communicate, I need more support or what have you. What are boundaries that you can set even as a subordinate? Some of what I'm saying can be incredibly irrelevant to you, or at least feel irrelevant because you are fighting for your job. There are work settings where the people applying for that job is so numerous, the worker doesn't have much in the way of leverage. Like if you voice any kind of complaint or any kind of issue, you could be gone. I don't want to be a fool about this. Okay, let's can we keep it real? So if that's your circumstance, man, I'm sorry that that's your circumstance. But yeah, there are work settings that have human resource providing you support, that have an employee assistance program that provides, some counseling and that will provide you some advice. um it's fortunate when you have that. A lot of people sometimes don't trust an EAP because it's a little too close to work, and you see the human resource person and the boss having a very close relationship, and so you're wondering how much information really is protected. You see the EAP office in the building, so obviously you can see people who are going in and out. There are a lot of workplaces who think this kind of stuff through and make sure that EAP is off-site and your confidentiality is protected. And so anyway, it can vary how much support and also how easy is this conversation to be had. So many people end up in a situation where they are responsible for their mental health. They have to kind of really take the steps to fortify themselves to compete effectively in their setting and march towards their goals. And yeah, we would love to provide support to those who feel we would be relevant.
Absolutely. So, if you are listening to us right now, if you are going through burnout, or if you want more out of life, and if you want someone holding your hand through the process, helping you to succeed, to implement the right strategies, you should book a consultation. You can see here on the banner, it's the right place for you to grow. And we this is our first podcast. We want to thank you for your presence, and reach out to us on Instagram, on Facebook, and let us know your thoughts, and let us know how can we better support you. And if you have any specific topic you would like us to address, message us. Let us know how we can um, create greater impact.
Now,
Right, Doug?
Sandra, you put me in the hot seat. Um, and we absolutely need our viewers to understand why you have such a lovely accent. So tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and also what you're passionate about.
Thank you, Doug. Well, I'm Portuguese. I live in the Azores. I have a degree in business. I was a CEO from Portugal, their largest company, for more than 2 decades. And so
Wow.
for me, it was so important to understand my role as a leader, my role as a CEO, because when we are passionate about what we do, when we really want the company to achieve greater results, we not only need to understand that it's our goal, that it's the company goal, but we need to take people from where they're at to perform better, to achieve better, feeling motivated, feeling passionate. And working in a compelling group that makes us win. And so we also are committed as leader, as a CEO. I was committed to celebrate their wins. And so when we celebrate their wins, we celebrate our wins, we celebrate the company wins. So I love people and I love supporting people. But I'm also a health coach, a nutritionist, and I'm passionate about the body. So I invest a lot of time studying about nutrition and how the body heals itself if given the right conditions. So I'm passionate in supporting high achievers to have more energy to achieve the results they want in life. So thank you for the time. And I'm here committed to your success with Dr. Whyte because I realized that when we work on our 7 vitals, and one of the vitals is nutrition, is good health. When we work on our vitals, we perform better. We feel much more joy, much more energy, and we are ready to set higher goals. So we are here committed to your success.
Yeah, I can't say thank you enough, Sandra, for your collaboration. Sandra has hopped in and just been amazing.
Thank
She, some of you will see her, she'll be your account manager when you sign up with us, and she will be attending very closely to making sure that you are having the experience that facilitates your transformation. So we have really teamed up to deliver a phenomenal experience. But I wanted you to see what a gem she is, background that she has to really know what she's talking about on many different levels, and just let you understand how fortunate that you are as an audience to be able to benefit from her support. So thank you for the collaboration,
you.
Sandra.
Thank you. I also thank you for all the value that you provide and for the transformation that people are experiencing through your coaching. So it's phenomenal. We are here to
You're
create
welcome.
greater impact in your life.
You're welcome.
I
What's that?
want to invite everyone that is listening to us right now to join the mastermind movement. So join us on the link, grab your your sweatshirt, your t-shirt, your cap, whatever resonates with you. Join the mastermind movement because when you master your mind, you master your life.
Absolutely. No, well said. Yeah, absolutely. We definitely want you to do that. And yeah, we're gonna be, coming out with these episodes. So, like, subscribe on our YouTube channel, and ask us the questions you have about mastery so that we can actually have episodes that help answer your questions. Let us know what you're interested in. We look forward to this being a long and fruitful journey. I love that. Follow us on Instagram. You see it up there. But yeah, just like Sandra said, guys, master your
Master your
mind
mind
so you can
and
master your
master
life.
your life.
Signing
Thank
out.
you.
Take care. All the best.